And thanks for your time. Yesterday, the Prime Minister announced additional support for drought-affected farmers in the south. We know our country is a land of such diverse conditions. We've had the floods recently, but in the southern parts of the nation, it's still drought-affected and impacted farmers we're talking about. You don't believe the government has gone far enough. What more needs to be done in support?
Thanks, Kieran. Well, I agree with David Littleproud, who's actually written to Julie Collins, the Minister for Agriculture, to ask her to put in place what we did in 2020, which is the regional, the RIC, investment scheme, and so that is an incredibly important body that provides loans. Now, it's in place. There was $350 million last financial year, the current one, and $350 for next financial year, but it's at 5.18%. I think at the moment what we're calling for is what we did in 2020, which is that it be interest-free for the first 2 years, so farmers can consolidate loans that they might have, get a breathing space, and another 3 years of interest only, and then 5 years of principal and interest. It just, in these incredibly difficult circumstances where farmers are having to buy in hay and grain to feed their cattle or simply try and get them into an abattoir, farmers are really doing it tough, and we believe that the Labor government should step in and implement what we did in 2020.
Okay, so that's on that front. In terms of feed and support, I know there are a number of not-for-profit groups trying to support farmers as well, both in drought-affected but also in the flood-affected zones. I spoke to a farmer up in the mid-north coast the other day, and he's urging people to get on board and try and support farmers via donations. Where is that supply at in terms of feed for stock?
Well, it's the farmers locally in Mallee tell me that it's really hard to get hay. There is hay coming down from Queensland, some from Western Australia. Of course, there's drought right across the southern part of Australia, from Victoria to Western Australia, but there is still hay there. They're trying to bring it across. South Australian government removed the fee for checking the biosecurity of that hay as it's brought in. I think the Victorian government should match it, frankly. And then farmers have got to be able to afford to bring that hay in where it is possible. So there is work being done. Frank Fontano from the Queen Victoria Markets actually contacted me yesterday and said that he's got 20 tonne of green waste that he is really happy to have brought out to the regions for cattle and sheep. He just needs a truck and EPA approvals to do that. So look, there's help coming from everywhere, but it's just got to be facilitated, and you know, the government is part of that. Of course, VFF, the Rural Financial Counselling Services, which is what the Prime Minister funded yesterday, $2 million, to assist with that. Counselling is absolutely important and necessary, and they do a great job. But the farmers themselves like to stand on their own 2 feet, and so I go back to the RIC as being really important, and, you know, the ability to bring in that hay and grain.
Has there been any indication from the government, from what you understand, after the letter from David Littleproud, to bring in or a return to those interest-free loans that, as you pointed out earlier, proved quite successful in 2020?
I've heard no response yet. I invite Julie Collins to come down to Mallee. Of course, I know Dan Tehan would welcome her in Wannon as well, where we don't see many Labor ministers come out to our neck of the woods in Victoria. Even though Mallee is over a third of Victoria, we really don't get those Labor federal ministers coming through. So I invite Julie Collins to come down and meet with farmers and to get engaged in these issues, because drought is incredibly difficult. The floods are a disaster. They've got the DRFA in process. Droughts are not bushfires or floods. They're quite a different, you know, it's a creep up on you kind of disaster rather than one that is sudden, and the DRFA, you know, is made for. So it's not made for drought. So we need that action on the ground and preventative support.